The year is 1904, and the Summer Olympics are being held in not Paris, not Athens, not London or New York, but St. Louis, Missouri. Now, at the moment, the men's marathon is currently underway, and if you were in the audience on that fateful day, you would see an astonishing feat. Runner Thomas Hicks, fueled by a wonderful concoction of rat poison, brandy, 4 raw eggs, and some severe hallucinations, is about to secure the victory with the slowest winning time in Olympic history. But how did this happen? And more importantly, why is this happening? Well, we'll find that out in a second. But first, let's set the scene. You see, the 1904 Olympic Games were originally planned for Chicago, but the organizers of the World Fair in St. Louis were concerned that the Games would reduce attendance at their event. To address this, St. Louis decided to host its own sporting championship, the Amateur Athletic Union, to attract sports enthusiasts away from Chicago, a little city rivalry. The International Olympic Committee, the IOC, ultimately gave the Olympics to St. Louis to avoid low attendance. If this rivalry wasn't bad enough, amidst the turmoil of the Russo-Japanese War, many nations opted out of participation, resulting in a predominantly North American athletic lineup. I mean, you need no further evidence in this than the medal tally. You see, Cuba secured 3rd place with 4 gold medals, Germany came in 2nd with 5, and then the good old United States of America clinched 1st with, 78 gold, 78 silver, and 78 bronze medals. James E. Sullivan, researcher and chief organizer of the Olympics. You see, Sullivan considered himself a scientist and decided this was the time to test out his new theory on purposeful dehydration on the body. This meant that water was banned from the race, leaving the runners without much hope of traversing the nearly 25 miles throughout the dusty plains and rolling hills of Missouri, especially in the brutal 90-degree heat. But this was just the beginning. Only 14 out of the 32 runners even finished, as most gave up from exhaustion. John Jordan, the winner of the previous Boston Marathon, didn't even make it 1 mile before vomiting and collapsing on the ground. William Garcia was found on mile 19 coughing up blood due to esophageal damage from all the dust on the unpaved rural roads. He nearly died on the way to the hospital. Even those who managed to finish the race didn't do so without trauma. Felix Carvajal was perhaps the favorite to win, well known at the time for running the entire length of Cuba, but he fell prey to the voices of the Big Easy upon landing in the United States and lost almost all of his money in the gambling houses of New Orleans. Now, he did manage to hike or hitch the 600 miles to St. Louis, but on the way he lost all of his belongings and had to run the marathon wearing his wholly inadequate street clothes, complete with a beret. He showed up literal hours just before the race started, having eaten little on his journey, and began immediately begging people in the race and passing cars for food. He eventually stole some peaches and apples from an orchard, but they were rotten, and he would vomit for approximately 20 minutes before lying down for a nap in the middle of the race. Amazingly, he still finished and came in 4th. The first man, however, to cross the finish line was Fred Lortz, who had just won the Boston Marathon the year before, but it turned out he had only ran a measly 9 miles before quitting and taking a car most of the rest of the way. Apparently, he thought it would be a good joke to pretend he won, because that's how seriously people took the Olympics back then. The real winner of the race was a man named Thomas Hicks, who had to be assisted across the finish line because his trainer's genius plan to get around the no water rule was feeding this athlete a concoction made of egg whites, brandy, and rat poison. He was apparently hallucinating for most of the last leg of the marathon and collapsed just after the finish line. But hey, Olympic gold is still Olympic gold.